real treat this morning because we've got Dave Plunkett back in the chair. I know lots of you in Startup to Stand-Up are looking for ways to sort of either launch or maintain partnerships. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to Dave.
Thank you, Ollie and Lee. Lovely to be back. It's been a little while. Nice to see a couple of familiar faces and lots of new ones as well. Well, welcome everyone. Well, you just heard me say what I'm going to do. I was going to do a little bit of seed setting just around where we're at. And as part of that, I want you to think about a moment and think about where you're only speaking with the right investors. So you're not having to haggle them. The investor conversation is that bit easier. That you've got brilliant partners who are helping you, whether it's go to market or whether it's scale. They're in and they're working. And the ultimate piece of this, I guess, is that you're consistently working with your dream clients, and they come to your door and they don't haggle on price, and they're not dickheads, and they're just brilliant people to work with. And you don't have to do that much effort to get them. Does that sound like a good place to be? Yeah, right. Well, unfortunately, I've got half an hour with you this morning and I can't deliver that. But what I would contrast that to is some of the people that will promise you this stuff, and it's the way the world has gone more and more at the moment, is this place we're at now in this world of mass outbound and personalization at scale, which is an oxymoron in my view, and just inboxes being bombarded and conversations feeling tiring. And it's just the other side of that piece where actually everything feels like a bit of hard work. Because while I can't promise you everything I mentioned at the start there, if you think about where those conversations are easiest, it's probably almost certainly where they've happened via an introduction. Whether it's happened via networking, it's happened via relationships. And look, I'm not anti-AI at all. It might help add a zero to your valuation, but in this day and age, people are really craving human connection, and that's what I want to talk about today. Very quickly, for those of you that I haven't met before, I'm Dave. Dad of 3 from the southwest. My youngest one looks just about like that at the moment, poor bugger, just with long blonde hair. I've been working in referrals and partnerships for 20 years now. I used to work for the Chamber of Commerce. I then ran my own small business membership organisation, business team that you see there. We grew that to 2,000 members, almost entirely through referrals and partnerships. That then morphed into a marketplace and benefit agency where we acted as the SME engagement point for some big global brands that you see there. And then for the last 5 and a bit years, since just before COVID, I've been running Collaboration Junkie. So we help organizations identify, nurture and scale referral, partnership, nearbound lead generation through training and consultancy. If you haven't heard of the term nearbound before, then essentially nearbound combines the best bit of inbound in that the people that you're speaking to are actually interested in your product, services, scale up, with somewhere near the scale of outbound because you're being intentional about it. So essentially it's looking at word of mouth in a much more channel specific way. And that covers things like referrals, which I class referrals as from your customers, your clients, your wider audience. They can be often seen as serendipitous, but it's the people that are out there and they are your fans and they'll refer you if you just ask them in the right way for the right thing. And then partnerships, which are a much more considered relationship, let's say, where actually there's a strategic reason for getting involved. You're both solving the same problem for the customer. They have a vested interest. It means that you can put much more process behind these. And look, there's all sorts of stats behind this stuff around why Nearbound works. And referrals make the world go round. Some of the biggest businesses out there, Uber, Spotify, Dropbox, they all grew and got their early adopters and scaled massively through referrals. PayPal, I was seeing a thing on them the other day. That was a pure partner play when they first came out. And look, but at the end of the day, introductions convert quicker and higher, they stay longer, they spend more. And you get the added bonus of they tend to be good people, because if you know good people, they typically know other good people. And this, it speaks to this thing of people do business with people they know, like, and trust. It's in our instincts, our tribal instincts, in our DNA, to want to do business based on shared values. And in this kind of world of mass outreach and things being more impersonal, this know, like, trust piece, in particular the like piece, really becomes more and more important. But because some of this can feel a little bit kind of fluffy, often people kind of don't think that you can scale this. And what I want to cover today is how you can do that. So very quick show of hands, if that's okay. How many of you kind of are more than comfortable kind of asking for introductions from your network, from your clients? Okay, we got a wobbly piece, right? And how many of you would say you do it consistently, have a process around it? Neil, brilliant. Dan, a bit iffy, others not. Okay, that's a little bit normal. For those that said that kind of are a bit iffy or don't feel comfortable, kind of, if you're happy to jump off mic and say why that is, it would be very much appreciated. No worries if not, I'll just move on.
So for me, I'm very confident in speaking to people, but I kind of do it very much ad hoc, based on the person, based on the objective I'm trying to achieve, based on what the give and take is, whether it's more of a partnership, whether it's more of a request, was it a favor? So again, I just react to the specific situation rather than having a kind of a solid structure in place for those eventualities, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're confident asking, yeah. So anyone here who wasn't necessarily confident in asking that's happy to share? No? Right. Oh God, Spencer, yes. Brilliant, thank you.
I was going to say I generally don't ask. I sort of just I sometimes feel like they won't want to recommend me, because if you're doing good work for them, why would they give you away to someone else?
Right. Yeah, I get that. Right. So, and you know what? And whenever I ask this, there is now no new answers for me. I have these talks so many times, but typically I get that quite a lot. That I get people kind of not wanting to be a burden, worried that they're going to push people away. And generally it all comes down to something I call the ick, right? It can just feel a little bit icky asking, but people love to make introductions. Most people, right? If you think about the last time you made an introduction to someone else and you heard back from those people that it went well, it makes you feel good, right? It's again, it's in our instincts to want to help, to want to do this business based on shared values. So what I want to very quickly cover now, before throwing it open for some kind of live questions, is around a couple of things around how to remove some of that ick, but also, Dan, to your point, where you've got these multiple relationships and you could be at different stages of your business, whether it's looking for funding, whether it's looking for clients, whether it's looking for partners, how you can do that in a more joined up way. And the first thing that I always say is about, you want to make it easy for people, which is about being specific about what your requests are. There's a reason why I use this image, other than just kind of loving festivals and stuff. And it's because when I was running my membership organisation, and anyone who's heard me speak would have heard this story before, I was running 3 events a week, seeing maybe a couple of 100 business owners. And as the host of the event, people would come up to me and ask me for introductions. And I'd say, yeah, of course. Who do you want to speak to? And they thought they were being really helpful when they said, oh, we can work with any small business owner. And it wasn't helpful at all, because actually all I saw was a sea of people. I couldn't really make anyone out from that because it was just too broad. Kind of like I imagine being stood on stage at a festival. The minute people were more specific about who they were looking for, maybe it was a type of business, maybe it was the businesses that they target, maybe it was accountants of a certain size who target market agencies based in this geographical location. Yes, it narrowed down the available, but it made it easier and easier until it was that girl at the front with the flag there. And so the more specific you can be in your requests, the easier you can make that. Now, the ultimate way of being specific is to ask them for someone you know they already know. And there can be a really easy way to do this. LinkedIn is wonderful for this. People's websites are wonderful for this. See where they used to work, see who they have worked with recently, see where there's testimonials, because then within your referral requests, you can make them much more human. You can go, oh, hey, Joseph, by the way, if you still got contacts over at so-and-so, I'd love an introduction. And suddenly that doesn't feel like a referral request. It feels like the most normal thing. And Joseph might come back to me and go, oh, right, yeah, I still meet up with that biz dev guy once a month for a pint. Yeah, I can make an intro. And so by the introduction to people you know they already know can be really, really cool, especially if you've got some context. But there's another way of being specific in a much more human way, which I call situational niching. And this is about flipping it from, can you just introduce me to anyone that I can put into my sales funnel, to going, can you only introduce me when there are people that I know have a problem that I can solve? Whether that's an investor looking for a specific type of investment that your startup fits, whether it's clients, whatever it may be. And this situational niching comes from thinking about the ideal moments in time where you're easiest to sell, where the sales conversations just flow naturally. When they happen, I call those moments in time. It could be someone's taking on their first employee. It could be that they're taking on their 10th employee. It could be that they're sacking someone from their board. It could be that they're moving offices. It could be that they're launching a new website or a new product. It could be anything in someone's personal life. There will be certain moments in time where your product or service is at its absolute easiest to sell because it's solving a problem or helping with an opportunity. If you can pull out the real human words that people will say when they're in that moment in time, then it'll allow you to really humanize your referral requests. And I'll give some examples of this. People don't necessarily walk around saying they need a new website. They'll apologize in advance about their old one, about their existing one. You've got a website to look at. Yeah, but it needs a little bit of updating, right? People don't say that they need help with their operations. They'll complain that they're spinning too many plates, for example. And so it's taking the problems that you solve, and while your website may be wonderfully well written and speak to your target market when they're looking at your problem, when they're in day-to-day conversations, they're probably not the words they use. Because when you uncover those, then you can say to your potential referrers, hey, Neil, next time you hear someone saying this, then I'd love an introduction, because I'm sure we'll be able to help them out. And it flips the whole dynamic of an introduction from one that's sales focused on you to problem solving about the other person. And it removes any of that ickiness or that sales piece about it, because actually the person feels that they're doing the person that are introducing you a favor rather than you. And that will relate, as I said, to clients, partners, investors, whatever it may be. It's about flipping it and being really specific. Because at the end of the day, people refer you for what you do, not what you sell. What you do and how you do it is what's unique about you, not the products, features, benefits. Very quick, before I want to throw open to questions, one of the key things that I say to many, almost all business owners to do is to map out your ecosystem. Really, really important to do this. And it can be as simple as going, what does my business need right now, right? And there may be 3, 4, 5 things that your business needs. It could be investors, it could be early adopters, it could be some new partners in certain areas. Map those out on a spreadsheet. Then what you can do is start thinking about all the people that you know, all the people who are close to you, where you've got those easiest relationships. And instead of going wondering, what can I ask for them when, you can start being much more intentional about how they can help you. And how I would rank that, if let's say you've got 4 things that you're looking for in your business right now, and you've got and for each person, I'd think about A, what do you need most in your business? But B, what will they find easiest to do? Right? Because the thing that they will find easiest to do is the thing that they're more likely to do, and the thing that you'll find less icky asking for. So I would be really intentional about starting to map out your network, map out your ecosystem, and understand where you've got these connections. Because when you do that, that's when your network really does become your net worth, because you're able to leverage it in a really, really intentional way. Look, for anyone that wants extra support on any of this stuff, I thought I'd very quickly throw that in here. My stuff starts at hour-long strategy sessions with a full framework that comes off the back of it. There's an offer there for Startup to Stand-Up members, which I'll share with Ollie afterwards. But what I do want to do is throw it open to Q&A, because partnerships and referrals is such a broad context that I wanted to give a little bit of context before answering any real-world challenges, issues, problems you've got right now. So yes, please come at me with yes. Dan, go for it.
So as many of you already know, we're looking my other company now. I don't think I've spoken to you about this, but yeah, I've got another company now, Pure One Group, which is a travel company. We're currently looking for investment, and it's proven to be quite hard. We've got our amazing Ollie Austin here. He's a shareholder and board advisor with Pure One Group, which is amazing, and lots of people have been very helpful. But we're really struggling to get to the right people for investments. We've come across a lot of people that said they'd take on the case and here's an upfront fee and stuff, but ideally we want people that know our industry and can add value and that sort of thing. So it's very hard to try and hone in on those individuals. So everybody's been really helpful. Ollie's been incredibly helpful, and Spencer's been incredibly helpful as well. So thank you again to you both. But yeah, just any other advice. Obviously, that's the key question. Like, you can never know enough. So yeah, anything you suggest?
Yeah. So while obviously your pool is smaller because there's people you want specifically, if anything, I think that makes it easier for you in terms of the stuff that I'm talking about. Because rather than going, oh, can you introduce us to any investors? You've got a very specific kind of niche that you're looking for with a really and so what I would do is get really, really clear. Look, I don't think I'm going to tell you anything different than you've been told before, but I'd get really, really clear on the problem that you're solving, the gap within that travel space particularly, so that there is a hook, there is a reason to for people to introduce you. I'd then, if you've got have you got a hit list of who the potential investors could be?
So yeah, we've had some good leads come through, like I said, from people, and I've been using Signal as well, which is basically part of BriefLink, and you can filter it down. So I've looked at people in London that are looking at investing $250,000 that specifically like to invest in travel, and I kind of got a definitive list of about 37 key people now. So but that's the thing.
So I do some network mapping now, Dan. I'd go through and go like, what's the quickest route to these people via someone else?
Yeah, that's the thing, is the introduction, because they must get thousands of requests a week. That's the hardest thing, is penetrating the communications. That's the struggle that we're having. I've identified people, it's getting their attention. That's the thing.
Yeah, and so I would look at who do I know who know those people. And if it's twice removed, then well, that's not ideal. Ideally, you only want it once removed. But if you've got that list, I would be on LinkedIn. I'd be just figuring out where, even things like, are there places they hang out? Are there events they go to? Like, just the first and foremost, yeah, can you get introductions, or can you get in the same room as them some other way, kind of thing. Yeah. I would do some contact mapping and see what your quickest route to them via an introduction could be.
Perfect. Yeah. I really appreciate it. And I'm also going to message you offline afterwards, because I've got a perfect radio show episode, which I think you would be good on to come on to my radio show and promote your business. So I'll message you offline about that. So,
awesome. We'd love to. Cheers, Dan.
Cool. Thanks.
Brilliant. Anyone else? Yes, Spencer. Yeah.
Hi there. Yeah. So this is sort of a hot topic for me and my business at the moment, and we're investigating how we put some sort of strategy together with this. So we're definitely looking at those two things that you showed earlier, the clients and that immediate network, and other sort of business partnerships, like for me, sort of board advisory companies, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. Should we be thinking about creating an actual referral scheme, or is all of this that you're suggesting about just people wanting to refer you?
Right.
Should there be a reward?
Does
it depend who you're dealing with?
First and foremost, exactly what you just said there, Spencer. It depends on who you're dealing with. So, broad rule of thumb, your clients do not want to join a referral program. right? And that the big difference between referrals and partnerships, I would say, is with partnerships, I'm a fan of putting some commercials behind it, and because I think it helps elevate the relationship. I'm not a massive fan of cross referral relationships, because very rare do they end up, you end up with an even passing of leads. Just the nature of how customer value chains work. The ideal partners provide you leads, you're not going to pass as many back upstream. So with partnerships, partnerships, big fan of putting it in place. It's a cost of sale as well. It gets called kickbacks and things like that all the time, which makes it feel a bit like dirty brown paper envelope. I mean, it's a cost of sale. You haven't had to do anything for that lead. So from a partnership perspective, I'm a big fan of putting it in place. Referrals, much grayer, much grayer. So there's a brilliant book and TED Talk by a chap called Dan Pink, who some of you may have not have heard of, called Drive. Lots of other people spoke about this, and it's around extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. Most of us are intrinsically motivated to help people. We want to help people that we like and have done a good service. And if you then put, the danger is that if you put too much reward, if you try and incentivize that, they can actually have the opposite effect. They did these brilliant things where they took people who had a passion and a hobby, and then they paid them to do it for 3 months. And at the end of the 3 months, they took the payment away, and they'd completely fallen out of love with this thing that used to be their passion and their hobby. And the same can be true of your referral requests. If you over incentivize them up front, then you can have the opposite effect where people go, oh, I'd have made introductions anyway, but now you've made it sales, and this feels icky, right? Now, absolutely reward people afterwards, and that can be dependent on size, scale of what your product, service is and what they do. Like, saying thank you is brilliant, but you have to be really careful about over incentivizing. But it's a grey area, because actually if your clients in your network are all salespeople, well, then they're going to want something for their efforts, and it's usual. So it really is nuanced about who you're asking. If it's your early adopters on a SaaS platform, for example, then you can then give something to them around the platform and give something to the other people as well. So it's really, really nuanced, Spencer. I'm afraid, but it does depend on who you're speaking to. But just be wary.
So have you just one other thing then with sort of clients and people that can you make it sort of like a bet? Bet you can't get me a lead in this and that. There's a case of vintage Dom Perignon in it, and that type of thing.
Absolutely. If you've got, I'm a big believer in having fun with it if you can. It's about removing that ick, right?
Yeah.
And even with people where you're not sure whether they'd be incentivized or not, you can still bring it up. You can go, look, if you're interested, there's this in it for you. And someone might go, oh, no, I don't want to do that. And you know never to bring it up with them again. Or they'll go, oh, that's interesting. So you can absolutely, if it's a more tailored thing that you're doing, Spencer, right? And so it's not huge, high volume, mass outreach, then you can be a bit more more personal about it. Absolutely. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. Neil, yes. You're on mute. I thought you were going to get away with it. It's been 26 minutes.
Very, very quickly. You mentioned earlier about the ability to go out and ask, right?
Yeah.
I think the best way is obviously to network like you've never networked, right? Because then you actually see them. If you bump into them at another event 6 months down the line, a year down the line, how's it going? You tell the story as to where it goes. It's just about confidence. It's the confidence to say that we actually have something. There is something. This is where things are progressing, and it's okay to get a no.
Oh, 100%.
It's okay to get a no. And actually, it just tells me, I've learned over the last 2 or 3 years, it tells me what the GUI is. What do I need to get to in order to get your attention? What does it teach us as a business that we need to improve on, show real traction? And then it becomes a FOMO.
Yeah, because I think that thing around no's, particularly in earlier stage businesses, can be a really big one. There's a big piece around every time someone makes an introduction to you, they're not just making an introduction to you, they are trusting you with a little bit of their reputation. And so you're right, Neil, with some businesses and whatever it may be, yeah, you need to get to a point where they're happy to trust you with that piece of reputation, because at the end of the day, that's all any of us have got is our reputations, right?
Yeah.
And so it is really important to, and the other thing what I would say that's just linked to this is, if you've got people that are making introductions for you, please keep them up to date with what's going on with those introductions.
100%.
So many people don't do that. They might if it turns into something successful, but it's a surefire way of never getting another introduction from someone again, is to not keep them up to date with what's gone on with the ones they've made, because their reputation's in the mix, and we should treat that with the trust and the respect that it deserves. So,
Agreed. Thank you.
no worries. Any more for any more?
I think we've exhausted questions there, David. So if you want to get that offer over to me, we'll share it with everyone in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone does think of anything afterwards and they want to drop me a note, they can connect on LinkedIn, do all that good stuff.
That was fantastic, Dave, and well timed, really well timed. So thanks for that.